Okay, good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Clive Saunders, and I'm the chair of the Watford African Caribbean Association. So thank you all for coming tonight for another installment of our Black History Month 2021 program. Tonight, of course, we're doing a book review, and we're really pleased that a long-standing friend of ours, Noah Kaindama, who is the author of two books, has been able to join us. So welcome, Noah.
Thank you.
However, before we launch into that bit, just wanted to remind you that this event is organized by the Watford African Caribbean Association, and in particular, our Black History Month steering group. The Watford African Caribbean Association, of course, is your organization. So if you're not already a member, please consider becoming one, because actually membership is free. We'll put in the chat the email address that you can email us if you want to become a member of the association. And as I often say to people, if you're not a part of this solution, it's likely that you're part of the problem. And we want to be part of the solution, all of us, if we can. This month, as was the case last year, we're organizing a number of Black History Month events. Our launch was on Friday, and this, in fact, is, you might say, is the third in the series that we are covering. You may not be able to attend all of these, but what we do ask you to do is to spread the word regarding these events to friends and family, at home or abroad, because with the technology that we have available to us now, we can connect with people wherever they are. There is a website which I have already put in the chat, but I'll put in the chat again, where you can go and find out more about the events that's taking place through the month. We're also wanting to use the month to kind of talk about the fact that there are some conditions, and to be specific, we got leukemia and sickle cell, for which there's a great issue in our community of people not donating blood. So we want to try and encourage you to do that, because actually one of the things we do know is whatever similarities that there are amongst us as humanity, there are some specific and unique things about us as African and Caribbean people that means that we are best able in certain circumstances to aid the survival of our fellow brothers and sisters. So please do consider doing that, and we'll try and put something again in the chat relating to how you might do that. In relation to membership of the association, if you do want to know more, you can also put that in the chat, and we will respond to your details. Last time we did this, we have a new member who has actually joined us tonight, because hadn't been aware of the association previously. The next event after this one is an event that we have on the 10th of October looking at prostate cancer, and given time, apart from looking at the website, we might just touch on that. But there's a whole host of things, over 10 other events happening throughout the month. Okay, does that all make sense to everybody so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thumbs up, no, thumbs down. Okay, so I know you didn't come here to hear me speak, so I'm actually going to reflect on why we're here tonight. So I've actually known Noah, I'm trying to think, it must be in the region of 20 years. He's, at least he now lives locally. I won't go into all the stuff about Noah, but we know that he has been a supporter of the work that we do over many years and continue to be so. So it's just right in all of those circumstances that we also provide a platform for him to engage with you about some of the work that he's doing. So Noah is the author of 2 books. The first is called The Real President and reflects on the experience of politics in Africa. It's a fictional book, and we are here to talk about it, so I'm not going to say too much about it. But I must admit, when I read some of the stuff around this concerns a young person coming to the presidency in their 30s, it did bring to my own mind the story of, as some of you may be aware of it, some of you are much too young to be aware of it, of Flight Lieutenant Jerry Rawlings, who came to power in the late 70s initially in Ghana, and was indeed in his 30s, and subsequently became one of, if not the longest ruler of Ghana, having ruled for about 20 years. And sadly, actually died just under a year ago, November last year. So I'm sure Noah will tell us whether there is any inspiration that might have come from that. But his second book, of course, the Real President 2, is a sequel that then kind of looks at the position concerning the then replacement presidents and this president being a woman. So I am intrigued to know quite a lot about not only the books, but also Noah's interests in all of this and his motivation for doing all of this. So the way we're going to do this, I'm actually going to try and ask the first question. And as those of you who know me will know that I will have plenty of questions of my own, but actually it's not about me tonight, it's about all of us interacting with Noah and engaging with him around the work that he has done, continues to do, and so on. So by all means, use the chat function, which is at the bottom of your screen. Raise your hand if you want to ask a question. I've had a chat with Noah, and as I said, we're going to keep this fairly low-key. He will, I think, share some bits of the book at various points during this hour that we're scheduled to be at. So the kickoff question for me to you, Noah, and I say welcome again. And the question is this. Just tell us about yourself and your interests in writing, and then we'll just carry on from there.
Thank you very much, Dwight. I feel honored to be included in the Black History Month celebration. And it is something that is close to my chest. And as you have said, we have known each other for quite a long time. And the shared experiences help us to do whatever we are able to do. But maybe before I say a little bit about myself, allow me to ramble a little bit, or rant, if you like, about Black history. When I was in school, going to schools, working with schools, it was one of those things that we tried to promote as much as possible. And I'm sure most of the schools in Hertfordshire are aware of it, and they're participating in it. What I noticed is this is what I want to mention. There are 3 things that I noticed, and I think they might be of help to us. The first one is that it brought the hidden history to life. So as we would go to some of these sessions, talking to the young people, sometimes in the primary schools or secondary schools, you're talking to young people, and then trying to draw their attention to the fact that some of the things that they use in the day-to-day life were actually invented by Black people. You would see the surprise on their faces. And you tell them, look, the ironing board was developed by a Black woman. Tell them that the traffic lights was invented by a Black person. Tell them that the lights that they use, the filament lights, it was Louis Latimer who invented that. And as you spoke and mentioned these things, you would see in their lives the spike of interest. And it was always a great experience. And so I hope that we shall continue to campaign for that in the schools. The second thing that I observed was that the Black history activities in schools was exposing the young people to role models which they otherwise would not have been exposed to. And so we used to, you would go to a school, you've seen the excitement of some of the Black children and the mixed heritage children, and you feel that connection, which I think was very, very good, because a number of Black people were invited to take part. But it's the third thing that I observed, which I think is very, very important. And this is that those activities helped to foster their own self-concept. Because all around them, as we know, recently, of course, we have seen that there are a lot of Black people in the media and adverts and so on. But it hasn't always been like that. Perhaps we give a lot of credit to Black Lives Matter and all other people who have been fighting for this. But you see, the children who cannot see themselves, either in the curriculum or in the school environment, among the teaching staff and so on, and all that they are made aware of is the negativity around the stereotypes, negative stereotypes associated with Black people. It is very challenging. But when they come into contact with positive people, positive materials, then it helps to foster their own self-concept that actually what perhaps the world is saying about them is not true for every person. And I think that is very, very important, especially for those of us who might be in the room and have with children. I think it's important to emphasize that point so that our children can grow with that pride of who they are and accepting themselves. So I just wanted to say those few remarks about Black history. My name has already been given. I'm Noah Kaindama, and I was a teacher for many years. I retired when I was an education advisor in Hertfordshire. And I think we did a great job with many other people that we worked with in trying to change people's perceptions and contribute to the debates, and sitting in environments where people were making decisions, because those are the ones that move things. So it was, I think, something that one would look at with great appreciation. So just before I retired, I started writing. Now, the inspiration for that was derived from conversation that I had with my children when they were teenagers and young adults, full of questions. And each time there was an issue, then they would ask me questions. And I made the mistake of telling them most of the time that it's leadership. And then quite often they will say, then do something if it is leadership. So I'll tell them, what can I do? The people who make changes, who create changes and make an impact are the voters and those people who are in positions who make the policies, not the poor me, far away from everything. But they didn't seem to like that. They said that they believed everyone has got something to contribute. I said, I contribute in my own way. But then as I reflected on some of those, I realized that it wasn't actually what I was going to do about it, but what they were going to do about it. That what they were saying is a representation of the young people, that they want to see changes to some things. And therefore, they were looking for how they can make that change, because they are the ones who have the power. Being reminded that at the moment, the population of Africa is over 1.4 billion, and 60% of those are actually children that are, young people under 35 years. And I was looking up at the population of the Caribbean. Also, you find that the population of those young people from 0 to 14 is actually 23%. So we've got a lot of young people, and it's them that can bring the change. So that is how I ended up writing a book, so that we could help them in contributing to bring the change. And so when I saw your theme for this Black History Month, it was pleasing because the purpose for writing this book fits in squarely. So that's why I'm very happy to be here. Now, I hope I'm not the only one who's going to talk throughout the whole evening.
No, and I hope it's not going to be just me either, because just to say to people, please use the chat function. Do raise your hand if you want to speak. But to carry on though, Noah, you've kind of started answering my first question, which is why a political fiction? You kind of sort of talked about the issue of leadership. So clearly you've written a political fiction book. I presume then, or maybe I shouldn't presume. So what would you say is the essence of the story that you're telling through your book? And maybe you might want to read a passage really to maybe illustrate that point.
Thank you very much. I think to do that, Clive, if you don't mind, can we share your screen on the screen
yes.
for a few minutes?
Yeah, you can share.
Okay. I've got someone who is helping me.
You've got an expert with you.
Oh yeah. Otherwise, I'll mess things around.
Yeah. I have some too, but they're not dependable.
Oh, you shouldn't say that because you've been in trouble.
They're never around when I want them.
Right. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. This is something that in the room, but I'm that is.
Africa existed before the slave trade and colonialism, yet Africa is still defined by these shameful events. It is time the narrative is changed. It is up to the future leaders of Africa to rewrite the story of Africa and prevent future slavery and colonialism. But where do they find inspiration? Only a few of the independence leaders have been true role models. These books are more than novels. They offer ideas and a compass to leadership. They also offer what an Amazon reviewer says is a critical look into development, politics, and Africa. Get your copy on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And welcome to Lubanda, a country where real presidents are born.
Thank you very much. So what I can say is welcome to Lubanda, the country where real presidents are born. I'm sure the video has answered the question that that was asked. The strongest motivating factor is to inspire voters and future leaders to bring the change that will benefit all the people.
There's a question in the chat. Amadou, I know you're there, but as there aren't many questions, I've seen this one, which you might want to build on what you've already said, Noah, because it says, where did the idea of the book come from? I think you've kind of touched on it. I don't know if you want to elaborate a bit more.
Yeah, like I was saying, the inspiration was from the conversation that we had with my children. But the overall idea of writing this book, by the way, there could be, I think I'm aware there might be places that are similar to what we're talking about. That's coincidental. This is fiction, and actually it's an acronym for this land we're talking about. So it is the reflection on what the discussion about leadership has been about Africa. And we know that not only Africa, but many other countries as well. But we have seen that the discussions are too philosophical, as far as I'm concerned. And so I wanted something that would be there so that when we say good leadership, then the young people especially will be able to have an idea what is good leadership like. And so we put leadership into a context, hence the fictional country of Lubanda. And therefore, by doing that, it enabled us to be able to highlight some of the aspects of good leadership, so that when you tell them that this is good leadership, then they have got at least some guide, rather than just having a philosophical discussion. And also, not doing so would mean that when the younger generation, when they come to leadership, or when they take positions of leadership, they will end up behaving like the failed leaders, because they have no concept. So really, that is the whole idea behind these books.
Okay, so if I understand what you're saying there, it's about effectively creating a sort of a new narrative. It might be fictional, but it's about creating a new narrative for people looking at leadership to think about, so that what we can end up with is good leaders, rather than the leaders that, as we've seen, mostly simply follow in the footsteps that have been set out for them by often colonial masters. Okay.
Right.
So building on that, I think Yvonne has asked this question.
So the club, do you want? I don't know how you want to do this. Get this done.
Amadou, do you want to come in with that before?
No, I thought we'll just do it in like 5-10 minutes, sort of, if you like, cycles. But if you want me to read them as they come, I'll do that as well.
Okay, so it might be a good point if you wanted to follow in from that initial theme. Just I think you were going to look at the passage that might be good. That maybe illustrate the point that you're making.
Right. Thank you very much. So I have two passages from this book here. I'm sure some people in the room I know have read it.
Yes.
And I'm reading the first two paragraphs. There was fear, much fear in the land. You feared for your life, for your son's life, and for your daughter's life. You feared for your wife, your relatives and friends. Fear in the streets, classrooms, doctors' consulting rooms, and in the home. There was fear everywhere. Danger was everywhere and always lurking. Fear had increased in the past few weeks since the death of the leader of the Mine Workers Union. He was a rising star who spoke more sense than the career politicians. He was an intelligent middle-aged man who people secretly looked to as the top challenger to the incumbent president. Sadly, he was brutally murdered in front of his house as he waited for his gate to open. He was driving in from a meeting to resolve the current government's unilateral decision to cut the miner's salary by 1/3. The people knew who killed him. It was the president and his ruthless and mindless supporters. This was a regular occurrence since Chimwanga became president 30 years ago. He had killed many potential leaders, and of course, anyone who dared criticize his regime openly. The methods varied: accidents on the road, collapsing in hotels, or getting shot in front of their homes or in their houses. Others simply disappeared without any trace. It was an open secret that the killer in their midst was their own president. Those are just the first two paragraphs.
Well, I think it appears to me that that does set the context for the story that it is that you're trying to tell. So that's kind of your starting point. Yes. Yes, indeed. Amadou, it might be a good point to bring some of these questions
Thanks.
because I have some questions, but I can see some of them has been asked in the chat. So Matt as well to consider those.
Okay, I've got 3 sets of questions. So what I'll suggest is I just ask them in order and give you time to respond to them in each individual question. Is that okay?
That's fine. I'm getting old now and my memory is struggling, but I hope I'll remember.
Okay, if it's not clear, just let me know and I'll try and amplify on that. So
Sure.
the first question we have of 3 is from Yvonne, and it says, what change do you feel is needed? What change do you feel is needed? You refer to taking hold before slavery / colonialism.
Sorry, you said what?
So you're saying what change do you feel is needed? And they then referring to your sort of conversation earlier and saying, referring to taking hold before slavery / colonialization.
One second, no. Yvonne is on the line. So Yvonne, do you want to clarify your question?
Yeah, it was something Noah said earlier on. So I was just thinking when he's saying there needs to be change, and he's saying change in leadership, what kind of change? And there was a reference within his statement about otherwise was kind of going back to colonialism and slavery. So just wondered what he was thinking in terms of the change in leadership to make a difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Do you want me to respond to that?
Please.
Yeah. Most of us probably are aware of some of the regimes in Africa and indeed beyond, where the people who are in leadership are there not for the benefit of the whole country, for the benefit of all the people, but just for their own benefit, for a few people benefiting, such that the speed of development has been quite slow. So we're looking for the change that we're talking about here is where people who get into positions of power realize that they have to use the power for the benefit of everyone, and that they should respect the rules of democracy, and to allow other people to come in when their time is up. So it is, in a way, what I'm suggesting is that where people are lacking to the good ideals of leadership, we should be able to see a movement in that direction by electing leaders that will put the interests of the people at heart. Now, the reference to slavery and colonialism is that maybe most of us have also noticed that the more power has changed between some what we call superpowers, the more influence they have had on places like Africa. So whoever is in power appears to be the playground of people. So what I'm saying is that if the young people are not aware that there was this atrocious trade called slavery that killed a lot of our people, and that if they're not aware of that, then they won't be in a position to defend themselves. And we have seen some of the ways in which people go into Africa. They use the same tactics, and so we have a lot of problems. So yes, I believe if the Black community is not well informed, regularly reminded of some of the atrocities of slavery and colonialism, then there is a possibility that the same powers will occupy and do the same things. And so the leaders must be made aware and make efforts to make sure that they keep and defend what they have.
No,
Thank you.
I agree with what you're saying there, Doba. I probably go slightly further in saying that when you look at the colonial period, then that is still impacting significantly in the way in which many of these countries in Africa and the Caribbean function. And effectively, unless we reverse that idea that naturally the West knows best and we don't know very much at all, that sort of a colonial mentality that has been sown in us is not going to be eradicated. And actually, we are not going to become our own people and exercising our own independent mind without that kind of development. Sorry, Amadou, you were moving on to.
Okay, I'll proceed with the next question. Thanks, Noah. Shall I proceed with the next question then?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. And this is actually referring to a book itself. So it's saying here, and this is from Zora, and it's asking, how has your book been received?
The people who have read the book, I know that various individuals have read the book. The books haven't been marketed heavily, as it were. It's just my interest is people to know the ideas that are there. But for those that have read the book, I think they have positively received the book. I can actually reference one young man from Cameroon who wrote on his Facebook after reading the book, and this is what he said. I quote, "Every leader or aspirant leader in Africa should recall to this piece of writing, The Real President, a therapy to the socio-economic pathologies that are plaguing our continent." So that's just an example of someone who read and reacted.
And I must say, no, looking at, there aren't many reviews, but at the moment you've got 5-star review on both of them on Amazon. So not many people end up with a 5-star review.
Yeah. Superb. Thanks, Noah. The third question, which is the final for this test, really, it's to do with the writing process itself. And the question is from, can't see the name, by the way. Lukeke. So the question from Lukeke reads, does the process of writing come natural to you? And then it goes on to ask, did you find it easy to create characters and situations to explore the themes you've alluded to?
Thank you very much. I do have an exercise for writers, which we shall do a little later. But writing is interesting. Yes, some things come easily, but some of the things you have to make an effort in exploring, because like I've said, when we come to talk about writing, I'll mention a few things, but it's demanding as well, because there's a research, you might have to do some research. You have to make sure that what you're saying makes sense, not only to you, but to other people, because it's possible you may have an idea in mind, but having the clarity to articulate it so that other people can understand what you're saying is another thing. But those are the challenges of the trade. Yes, some of the things I find, to me, they come naturally. Thank you.
Thanks. I got one more question, but we'll allow another 5 minutes or 7 minutes and then come back to that, just to allow you to continue. Is that okay?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. So the next next question that I wanted to put to you, Noah, and I think you might be, maybe you want to leave it until a bit later, just by what you've said. But my question was, what advice would you give a young person, including the younger at heart, of course, people like myself, who is thinking
of writing? Right. Thank you very much. I'll answer that question. By the way, I forgot when we were when I was answering the question about how it has been received. The second book, which we shall come to later, reached Amazon. It was top 5 political thriller on Amazon. So at least that's an addition. But I think before I answer the question that Clive has posed, I would like to read something from this book, because from there we'll go to an exercise and then move on to the second book, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Now I'm deliberately reading this passage because I saw in the chat that there was going to be a meeting between leaders from Africa and the Caribbean. I don't know whether that has taken place already, but that was interesting to me. So here is the excerpt from the book. Now, this is the president of Lubanda now, who is on holiday. Now, let us all sit down and tell me the nicest things you have enjoyed in the Bahamas. Just then his mobile phone rang. He withdrew a short distance away and spoke to someone important. After the telephone conversation, he told them that he had been invited to attend the gathering of the Caribbean leaders, eliciting much protestation. "We are on holiday," the girls shouted simultaneously. "You should not be working. You promised to spend the day with us and do things," they protested. "The meeting is the day after tomorrow, so we shall do a lot tomorrow. Come on, let us go." They ran past Rachel, who was resting on one of the reclining chairs. "You have been with your children. Tomorrow is my turn." "No, he has promised us. We are doing lots tomorrow," replied the girls in unison. "He is also my father. I need to be with him." "He is your husband, not your father. He's my father," screamed the last born, holding the father's leg. "Okay, enough of the fights. Time for supper and Scrabble." Rachel was not pleased either with the official engagement because it's obtruded into their holiday time. They were getting used to having him around all the time. When they reached America, they would not have much time with him. If he has an engagement, he spends time preparing, so this will not be different. However, since he was so excited about the invitation, they reluctantly accepted the obvious. He came back from the meeting with the Caribbean leaders 5 hours later than planned. The family had seen part of his address on the television. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, thank you for inviting me to your important meeting. Thank you for the warm welcome. I am truly among kith and kin.
Thank you very much for that. Now, and of course, you're linking Africa and the Caribbean very nicely there, because, of course, the majority of the people that we speak about, particularly in the English-speaking Caribbean, are children of Africa. And we may have had a slightly different experience of slavery, but we've had the same colonial legacy, and we carry the same burdens of racism, amongst other things. So indeed, it's a good connection to make. Maybe you want to come back to my question about the writing and the advice for children, because it might be good, Amadou, if you ask this other question, which probably
okay,
can come now.
All right.
And before you do that, just to say, other people, then please put your hand up if you want to speak, or do put things in the chat. This is about you and all of us actually coming together to just share knowledge and experience.
Thanks, Clive. No, this question that I said we'll hold back on until now is saying here, it's asking whether if the book can be used in secondary schools as a way of discussion, to discuss and develop leaders, which will be excellent. So they're saying, can it be used in schools to discuss leadership and develop leaders?
Thank you very much. In fact, that's I have had a lot of comments about that. The simple answer is yes. The books would be useful to any person and any organization that is interested in seeing positive changes in Africa and elsewhere. And people have mentioned to me that universities, college students would find this book very, very, very useful. So yes, I hope that along the line, someone will have the interest to introduce the book. Just to add on to what Clive was saying.
Before you come into that, but there may be another question to ask you before that, because I thought maybe it had been asked, but what's your approach to writing your books? I mean, when you listen to other people talking about the way to go about writing, they say, I've charted out every chapter, and I've kind of structured it in this way or that way. I have a practice of writing every day. I have a notebook with me, and all these kinds of different ways of doing it. How have you gone about doing this kind of thing?
Thank you very much. You sound like a journalist, Clive. You have asked me the same question twice. I like it. No, we'll come back to that. It might be of interest to know, by the way, that it's estimated that there are more than 146 million people in the diaspora who are of African origin. So you can see why I think we need to rejuvenate ourselves so that wherever we are, there's something positive. Now, coming on to the question that the questions about writing, I thought that we'll do a little exercise, but first of all, an advice for writing. It is believed that one of the most prolific writers in America, called Herbert Hubbard, was asked, what is the key to successful writing? He said, this is his answer. The only way to learn to write is to write and write and write and write and write and write and write. End of quote. So that is the best advice that one can give about writing. But since there is interest of writing in the house, I thought we'd do an exercise. So if you can find everyone in the room, please find yourself a pen and a piece of paper. I don't know how many people are in the room, but
there are 20 of us at the moment.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, with your pen and paper, think of 3 ideas or insights or instructions you could offer a reader of your book. Imagine you're writing a book, or you want to write a book. I know, I'm sure a number of people have got books in them. So just jot down 3 ideas or insight or instructions. Okay. Right. Next, I would like you to think of ideas. So I'm going to demonstrate how you can generate ideas for your book. Now I'm going to use a process that is called mind map. If you don't know it, don't mind what it is. I'd like you to draw a circle in the middle of your paper. And then choose one of the ideas you've put down and please write it in the circle. Right, mine is writing a book about the Watford African Caribbean Association. So if I were writing that, now, what I would like you to do is to draw an arrow off the circle in any direction and jot down ideas that are associated or that may be associated with the main idea in the circle. Right. Mine, I have the following. On one arrow, I've written history. That's when it was founded. On another arrow, I've written the founding mothers and fathers. And on another arrow, I've written finance, because I'm sure many people think that Clive has got a big bank where he gets the money.
Indeed.
Then another arrow, write activities. Oh, I wrote activities, sorry. You can write yours. And then another arrow, I wrote problems. And then the last arrow coming off the circle, I wrote achievement.
Mm.
So now, if I were writing a book, I would now begin to add more arrows on the arrow. For example, finance, I would add an arrow, grant, fundraising events, and gifts. On activities, I would write children, adults. And on the founding mothers and fathers, their names, their profiles, and maybe anecdotes. And then you continue populating until you have so many points. Now, if you have got a problem in finding ideas, this is what I used to teach children when I was in the classroom. That use the WH questions. They are very powerful for generating ideas. What, why, where, when, how. So if you use those questions, you find that you're generating enough ideas to populate your idea. I would ask who were the founding fathers, and mothers and fathers, and what were their names? Where did they live? When did they come to Watford? And then you can see that chapter is already complete. Now, once you have done that, then you organize the points into chapters and paragraphs. So if I were writing myself this book, the arrows of the circle will end up forming my chapters, but you can change things around when you have ideas on paper. Then you set a time to write. You say, I'm going to write at this time. Now I should give a warning to the gentlemen, because you'll be asked questions if you don't show up and say, you're spending too much time in your room. Then after that, you get a pen and paper and start writing. And you write and write and write.
It looks like we've got 18 other books coming out of it tonight then.
Oh, yes. Then after that, you find an editor to edit your work. It's always helpful to give someone else to have a look. And otherwise you have a lot of, they are always, even written in other printed books, you find there's a typo or something that is there which you overlook. My problem is that when I write and I read and read, sometimes I end up being a reader instead of editing. So I miss out things. Now, when you do that, once you found an editor, the work is cleaned, then you can find an agent who can publish your book, or you may publish it yourself. The publishers are commercially driven. You may have ideas like mine, which they wouldn't understand. It's only when you are of certain background that you probably would appreciate. And then once you do that, then your book is published.
Yeah, thank you very much, Noah.
Just Clive, my last point is that by October 2022, I'm expecting 20 books from here.
No, that's really great, and I think you've provided certainly some inspirations for those people on a call who have a book in them. So, and I think that's great. Somebody's told me that when we set a time, we should try and stick to it, and that I am not sufficiently firm when it comes to keeping to time. So I'm going to try and see if we can not go too much over the time, but I personally had Sancho's put down there as a writer and all of us an observation. But there's a couple of questions I wanted to ask because I've not seen any others coming through. And it's a way of, and I don't know if you wanted to read any more from either one of the books, but the two questions that I suppose remain for me, since you've said that there's 20 books coming out of this meeting tonight, and you're one of the 20, I presume, therefore, that there's a sequel, a further sequel, or a different book coming up in the next couple of years. So that's the one question. And the most important other question, probably more important than all the rest really, is what is, in terms of the benefit to you, what is the best way of acquiring a copy of either or both of these books? So that's my questions.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think we'll read the passage in the other book a little later. What was the first question?
It really, the first question was essentially,
right.
Is there another sequel or another book coming up from you?
Not a sequel, but I'm working on a nonfiction book at the moment. Although I'm having people tempting me already to write a sequel to the next one. But I think the third book is going to be a nonfiction one. Yeah, and you can purchase any of the books on Amazon. I'm told they are quite efficient in delivering the book if you want the hard copy. But if you want the Kindle version, that is instant. You can get it.
It's just that I'm told that the writer doesn't really get that much from books sold on Amazon. Look like you may have frozen now.
Sorry, Clive, I missed.
Yeah, it looks like you got frozen. It's just from other conversation, I'm told that the writer doesn't get that much from books sold on Amazon. Is it me or is it Noah? I can't remember. I'm not sure.
We're hearing you.
I can hear you.
I can hear you. I think Noah's frozen.
Yeah, I've got the question. That's fine. It's can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yes, now.
Amazon Amazon gets the largest share. What you get as a writer is pitiful. So you don't bank on paying off your mortgage on a book unless it's one that sells millions of books. Yeah.
Okay. So I think Marlene wanted to ask a question. Sorry, Noah.
No, go ahead.
Now, Marlene, you had your hand up. So do you want to ask your question, please? You're muted if you're trying to speak.
Okay, sorry. What I wanted to say is, sorry, I missed the beginning of this, but the question I'd like to ask, have you tried, because there's a lot of Black schools that are coming up these days. Have you heard of the one in Lewisham that Andrew Mohammed is doing? Have you heard of Andrew Mohammed?
No, not really.
Okay, well, he's got some supplementary school. I'm not sure what the one in Lewisham is going to be, if it's a full-time school. And obviously they tried to gear towards Black material. So places like that, you could, someone said they know Andrew Mohammed. Maybe they can explain more to you. You could get your book in schools like that, because it could be books where you use as English literature. It could be a literature book that people read and have to write and explain about it. Yeah, so I just thought, you know, that's an avenue if you could go down, because Andrew Mohammed, he does hidden science, and they talk about various things on a weekly basis on a Tuesday. And, you know, it's all pertaining to us. And last night he had Robin Walker. Have you heard of Robin Walker?
We have, yes.
Yeah, he had Robin Walker on there last night, and he was talking about, oh gosh, amazing people. Admittedly, they were from America, but it was this guy in 1870 something, who was a phenomenal architect that built some really fantastic buildings in America. If I'll look up his name and put it in the chat. That, you know, I think all of us should know about things like this. And yeah, so people like that is good to be a part of. And there's also this thing on Saturday, it's called Coffee Saturday, by someone named Daniel, and they deal with all Black educational and Black knowledge and things like that. So these people is good to know, because they are doing things within the Black community for the young people to have the knowledge of us as people. So it'd be good for you to be, you know, in contact with them. And also the part where you mentioned about Amazon, I'm surprised you say you can't make money from them. Well, you did mention unless you sell 1,000, because I'm forever buying off of Amazon. I even ordered a juicer off there last night. And if, you know, if people don't make much money by selling their products on there, how are they able to have so many people products on that sort of platform?
Thanks, Marlene. I think ultimately it's about the volume, as has been said. Amazon make their money by actually selling large volumes, and to be honest, my understanding is actually their margin is not particularly big, because it's how they manage to actually get a monopoly or near monopoly in the market. However, Noah, as we're nearing the end, and we did start a few minutes late, so do you want to cover another passage before we pick up any other questions that there might be, and we kind of bring this session formally to a close? Doesn't mean that people necessarily have to leave, but I'm conscious that some people may want to leave, in which case, if we formally close it, then of course people want to have a bit of network and have a conversation, can do that afterwards. So do you want to share with us another passage?
Yeah, thank you very much, Clive, and thank you to Marlene for that contribution. I'm going to read a passage from the second book, which is entitled The Real President to Africa's Last Line of Defense. You look stunning, madam, said the handmaid. It is my wedding day, she joked. After breakfast, she set off for the first day in office. She stopped to look at each of the pictures of the previous presidents. She ignored Chumanga's and stopped at Mother's picture, touched it, and bowed. Next up was a new picture, a familiar face. She looked at it, straightened it a bit, and smiled, and continued to the grand office. She opened the door slowly, looked around as though she had never been in. She looked at the picture on the wall and decided nothing would be taken down, although the position of the table would change. On the table was a handwritten note from Moses, which in part read, "Congratulations, my president. Remember, leaders can build and they can destroy as well. I am confident you will build. Leadership is a unique privilege of service. You have power, but power can bring so many temptations and trials. Power is more intoxicating than alcohol. Tame it with wisdom and principle. Use it for the common good. Exercise power with the ideals and conscience of humanity. Seek not glory, but let glory be your gift of service. And remember, being a president is not about owning the country. It's not about owning the people or owning the wealth of the nation, but owning the honor of trust and service. She stood still momentarily, lost in thought. Then she slowly sat in the presidential chair, took a deep breath in, and smiled to herself. Enjoy today, Delilah. Thereafter will be storms, she mumbled to herself. She thought of President Moses Kamau, read the note again, and remembered how it all started. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Noah. Right.
1 or 2 points, Clive. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
I think Mujin is saying thank you. We enjoyed that exercise. So the writers in making are thanking you.
Thank you very much.
A question is actually to do with the book signing. Sandra is asking, when and where is the book signing? Just in case I missed it.
Well, because of the pandemic, this one was released published in May.
Yes.
And we haven't had a session yet. Maybe I'll make myself available at some point and sign some books. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Just in relation to that, there may be an opportunity, we need to confirm this, on the 16th of October when there is we're having a film show at the Palace Theatre, which I believe is live, just needs minor details, which potentially could be a live opportunity, but we'll need to get some details before we confirm anything in relation to that. You said there was another point, Amadou.
Just a couple of comments, really. Marilyn saying, I think she was talking about Paul Revere Williams. That's the person that she was talking about. A great architect, she's saying here, for us to look them up or look him up. I think that's just a comment alluding to an earlier point. And then Yvonne here saying, thank you, Noah. It's been interesting. I will say about informing Black Leaders Group, head and senior leaders. So I think she probably would see how she can create more awareness of the book for you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any final observations from anyone before we try and bring this to a close? Okay. So you've seen I've put in the chat something that the theme for this Black History Month, which Noah kind of referred to earlier on, is very much consistent with what we've been talking about tonight, and we'll be having more conversations throughout the month. So it's building a better future, making a change. And I will again refer to a point I made earlier on, that actually we have got to be part of this journey of making this change. The past, if you go back into the far distant past, has been a glorious past. the last 400 years have not been so glorious. I don't necessarily want us to go back into the past, but actually what we do know from our past is that, as our motto says, together we can achieve, and we're people that have achieved and can achieve. But we're not going to continue on that road of achievement unless we come together and recognize that despite issues that we may have, actually, unless we come together, those issues are not going to be resolved. And I think Noah's work is a step taking us in the direction of saying that actually we've got to be about looking at how we manage our fears in a positive and constructive way, where the well-being of us has got to be the center of all of that. So I think it's a good contribution to this month of activity, where, as I say, it's about how do we make the change that we need to make to create that kind of society that we all aspire to, I'm sure. So you'll see that there are lots of other things happening, as I've said earlier on. I've seen it's been put in the chat where you can go on the website to find out more about what has been going on, or what will be going on, should I say. I'm just looking at, I think other people are putting things in the chat there. So please spread the word about these activities that we're doing. It's all part of us actually beginning to work together. And we've got a steering group that have done some sterling work in putting the program together. And some of those people are on this call tonight. So to conclude, there isn't a final point on there for me to consider, Amadou?
No, nothing of, I think, yeah, that's it really. Thanks.
So to conclude the evening, I'd like to say a big thank you for Noah. As I said earlier on, he has been with us and been a part of the journey with us. And I think just by the book that he's written, he's showing that he's continuing on this journey of helping us to be better and to build better and to create that future that we want. So thank you very much, Noah. Thank you very much, all of you, for being a part of this tonight. Yes, Noah.
Maybe just, if you don't mind, can I just leave you and the organizing committee some encouragement?
Indeed, yes. Final words, yes.
Now, this is a quote. It's again in the second book. It's a quote by John Quincy Adams. If your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader.
Thank you very much.
I believe all of us can be leaders, and all of us can contribute.
It's an opportune quotation to end the evening on. I would say thank you very much. I'm going to thank you all for being part of this evening. It wouldn't have been the same without you. Do keep on the journey with us. I mentioned earlier on about membership of the association. Seen people have put it in the chat. So do consider joining. Membership is free. It is your organization. So thank you all again. Have a good evening. If you want to stay on informally, I'm going to stop the recording now, but we don't have to close down. If there's some burning stuff you want to talk to each other about or to say hello to anybody, then you can do that for now. But the recording is being stopped now.